Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction for the 12 zodiac signs. This full moon is happening at 27 degrees in the sign of Aquarius on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone. But it's happening at a square of the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus. At the same time, we have Mercury also retrograde that is sitting pretty close to the Sun, so it's combust. There are a lot of things that we are revising at this point, and that this full moon is also highlighting and putting a spotlight on. On this same day, we also have a T-square between Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, but I won't be talking as much about these because I have already put 2 videos that focus on the Mars-Jupiter conjunction and also the Jupiter-Saturn square. So on this video, I will only focus on the full moon and its square to Uranus. But as with all the other videos, please remember I'm a Western astrologer and I follow tropical zodiac. And if you resonate with these videos, please remember to show some support. If you don't resonate, just take what you feel comfortable with and leave the rest, because this is a general reading. After all, I don't have your personal charts in front of me. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in again, and let's start with the 12 zodiac signs. Hello dear Aries, Aries suns, moons and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. The full moon is happening on August 19 at 27 degrees in your 11th house, and it's highlighting your groups of friends, your friendships, and also your long-term dreams and goals for the future. The moon rules your 4th house, so for a lot of you Aries, it could be that there's a family member that maybe has a sudden change associated with some type of long-term and dream and goal that they have for the future, or that you have together with them. And that is because Uranus is squaring this full moon. Uranus is also the ruler of this full moon, so that's why this is extra important. Uranus is squaring this from the 2nd house of your personal income, so it could be that for some of you Aries, you're using your personal income, your finances, to help a family member achieve some type of long-term goal that they have for the future for themselves. Or it could be that you may be pitching in more money to achieve some goal and dream that you have for yourself, for your future, maybe even associated with your real estate, with the place that you reside in, where you're living, or the individuals that you are living with. The 2nd house, where Uranus is squaring this full moon, is also the house of personal values and self-confidence. So it could be that there's some clash here for some of your Aries with maybe a friend or a group of friends, to where you are not on the same page, you don't believe on the same things, and therefore there's some friction that's being created here, and this full moon is also putting a spotlight into these things. Mercury is also retrograding very close to the Sun, and Mercury right now is combust, which means that maybe we don't have that necessary mental clarity in the things that we want to address with this full moon. And this full moon is also, addressing and putting friction into these topics that needed to be revised with Mercury retrograde, which for you is in the 5th house. So for a lot of you Aries, it could also be that you may need to put some spotlight into some type of communication that you have with a child, with your children, or with a romantic partner, or it could simply be with the way how you go about your creative and artistic abilities that you have in your life. So this full moon is trying to bring your attention into these things, but it's not doing it in a comfortable way with the square to Uranus. And as with every full moon, the Sun is sitting in front of the moon, and with Uranus squaring these two, the moon and the Sun, is kind of creating a T-square. So there's definitely a lot of friction, a lot of tension happening during this time. But again, for you Aries, it could very well be associated with your long-term dreams and goals for the future. There is something here that is shifting in a very sudden and profound way. There is something that could be changed, and you might not be able, to do much about it, except for maybe assisting somebody financially again, or reassessing your values that you have for yourself or for other people, or even, you know, having some type of important change associated with your possessions and the things that you own. But this is what I have for you, Aries, for this full moon. I hope you have a light one. And please, as always, if you liked and resonated with this video, remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello, dear Taurus, Taurus suns, moons, and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction, which is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone. But it's happening at 27 degrees in your 10th house. If you have any planets between 24 and 0 degrees of Gemini, then you are going to feel this the most, as this full moon is happening at an angular house and the 10th house of career, public reputation, of your status also, but it's also triggering your real estate and home dynamics, and also your identity, who you are as a person, but also your partnerships. So all in all, Tauruses, this full moon is going to be very, very important for you. This talks about some type of spotlight and completion associated with your career, public reputation, which takes you by surprise. There is something shocking happening here with the square to Uranus that this full moon is receiving, and Uranus is sitting in your first house. So it could very well be for a lot of you Tauruses that there is some change in your career that you are initiating. You could be the person making this change, or it could be that something very sudden happens, you know, associated with your public status if you're not in the working industry. Again, Uranus is sitting in your first house, opposing the 7th house. There could be a change in your partnerships also. The full moon is also opposing Mercury, which is already retrograde at this time. Mercury is sitting close to the sun. It's combust, which means that maybe we don't have the right clarity when it comes to making the right decisions and having the right completions with this full moon. So this moon is putting a spotlight in this Mercury retrograde, which is transiting your 4th house of real estate, home dynamics, home environment, people that you live with. There could be necessary changes happening here, transformations also, which can be, you know, quite surprising, quite abrupt, or that may require some extra flexibility, which of course is not very easy for you Tauruses, given that you're a fixed sign, one of the most stable signs of the zodiac. The other thing about this full moon is that the moon in itself rules your 3rd house of communications. So for some of you, there can be some communication that is, again, sudden, associated with your career, with your public reputation, with your public status, and how you're basically known to the world. And Uranus is also the ruler of this full moon, so there can definitely be a change in your career and public reputation. The 3rd house is also the house of our thinking patterns. So it could be that you are maybe thinking to make a drastic change that could take a lot of people by surprise when it comes to your career, when it comes to your partnerships, public reputation, your status. Some of you could go from single to engaged. You know, you may be thinking about making this important, necessary change in the most public house of your chart. But this is kind of what I have for you Tauruses with this full moon. Please make sure to check the other videos for the Mars-Jupiter conjunction and Jupiter square Saturn. Those are also very important. They're happening at the same time with this full moon. So we have some crazy activations happening during this time. But remember to keep a light heart. You have been through more difficult things than this, I feel like. So keep that in mind, that this too shall pass. Let me know in the comments how things are going for you, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello, dear Geminis, Gemini suns, moons, and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. This full moon is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone. But for you Geminis, luckily it's happening in a fellow air sign, so it's in a good aspect to your 1st house. And it's happening in your 9th house of legal matters, of foreign travels, international travels, of higher education, publishing, writing, research work, all the good stuff. However, this full moon is receiving a square from Uranus, which is sitting in your 12th house. For a lot of you Geminis, this full moon may highlight the need to do all these things that I mentioned with your ninth house matters, but it could be that there's some kind of a sudden news that you may receive kind of behind the scenes, where other people don't see it. You kind of keeping it private for yourself. It could also be that there could be somebody behind the scenes that is not letting you accomplish something associated with your ninth house matters. It could also be that you need to address something associated with international travels, foreign lands, because that's where Uranus is right now. The 12th house rules also these things. So there can be the need to look into documentations and to fill out applications. There could be a need for some extra information or some extra documentation that needs to be submitted with this full moon. This can also talk about some type of completion associated with higher education, universities, also during this time. But again, there's something here changing behind the scenes in a shocking and surprising way that you were not expecting, associated with your ninth house matters. For others of you, it could be that there can be some type of completion associated with a lawsuit, maybe legal matters in general. However, again, there's something behind the scenes that's happening here that is taking you by surprise, that you maybe were not expecting it to happen. It's important to mention that this full moon is also opposing Mercury, that is already retrograde and is very close to the sun. It's combust, so not that very strong. So be careful with all the documentation that you're filling out. Make sure to check all the information in, because sometimes Mercury in this position does not give us the right mental clarity that we need to be able to accomplish these things. And for a lot of you with this Mercury, you may have been going back to reviewing the way how you communicate with other people, your thinking patterns. If you have a small business, that maybe you have had to go back to certain details and review them and reassess them. So this full moon is really putting again the spotlight into everything that you had to deal with during this Mercury retrograde. There are a lot of things that need to be addressed for you to have some type of completion or shocking and surprising completion associated with ninth house matters. The moon rules your second house, so for some of you Geminis, it could be that you are needing to put in some more money to maybe pay for tuition, some money that you are not expecting to do, maybe to pay again for some tuition, some extra fees. Or it could be that you are helping somebody, maybe one of your children, to pay for their school. Or it could be that for some of you there could be some need to pay some more when it comes to legal fees or legal matters with this full moon. There's a spotlight being put here in your ninth house. I really hope it turns out to be more on the light side, given that you're an air sign. But however, we have a lot of tense aspects in the sky during this time. I have put a video up related to the Mars-Jupiter conjunction that is happening in your first house, but also to the Jupiter-Saturn square that is also happening in the sky during this full moon. So please make sure to check those also, as they are very important for this day. But this too shall pass. I think September is going to be lighter than this month, so keep that in mind. Good things are coming or better things are coming. Please let me know in the comments, Gemini, how things are going for you. And if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Cancers, Cancer Suns, Moons and Risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction for the 12 zodiac signs. On August 19, dear Cancers, we have a full moon at 27 degrees in your 8th house, which really talks about a spotlight or a lot of attention being put into your shared resources and shared finances that you have with a partner or maybe with a family member. Uranus, however, is squaring this full moon from your 11th house of long-term dreams and goals for the future. So it could be that there's some spotlight being put in your shared resources, some discussions, agreements, and disagreements associated with it that are putting your long-term dreams and goals into friction, into risk with this tense square. There is something that needs to be addressed here, but it does not correlate well with some type of long-term dream and goal that you may have for the future. And this can be quite abrupt, quite surprising, quite shocking. For some of you, you may not be expecting this. However, it could be a high possibility with this transit. The 8th house is also the house of our insecurities, self-sabotaging patterns. So for a lot of you Cancers, it could be that maybe a friend, with Uranus sitting in the 11th house of friends and acquaintances, a friend could be triggering something within you with this full moon, putting a spotlight into some self-sabotaging patterns that you have into yourself, inside of you, or some fears that you have that can take you by surprise and can make you feel very uneasy, or can make you even fear or face the inner darkness. Sorry, I hope it doesn't sound that dark. It doesn't have to be the case for all of you, but it could be the case for some of you. The 8th house is also the house of taxes. So make sure to address your taxes on time, because there can be some friction here, some tension to where some of you may owe an amount of money that you are not expecting, that clashes with your long-term goals that you may have had for the future. The 8th house is also the house of other people's finances and resources. So if you are in the advising industry, or in the industries that deal with other people's money, managing other people's money, insurances also, that there could be some abruption here, something that takes you by surprise, maybe even associated with social media. Somebody could write something online that does not make you happy, associated with your business. Or it could be that there is some friends, some acquaintances that don't sit well with you in one way or another, associated with your business, if you're in any of these industries. But if you're not, again, Uranus here is bringing some friction, some tension associated with your 8th house matters. The moon rules you, so you may feel this very profound, in a very profound way. Again, moon being in the 8th house can feel very tense, so keep that in mind. But this too shall pass, just like I say for every other transit. I just try to say that we are meant to learn the challenges of these transits and move forward with the lessons that we take from them. Uranus is the ruler of this full moon, and it's sitting in the 11th house, so this is very important. Again, you are keeping in mind some long-term dream and goal that you may have for yourself, for your future, but there's some clash here, maybe with shared resources and finances, with somebody in your family, or just with your fears and with your inner world that you need to address with this full moon. That could be very well triggered by a friend, acquaintance, social media, or simply your long-term dreams and goals. But this is what I have for you, Cancers, for this transit. Please let me know in the comments how things are going for you, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Leos, Leo suns, moons and risings. Welcome to the full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. This full moon, Leos, is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone. But it's happening at 27 degrees in your 7th house. This is very, very, very important for you, because the 7th house is an angular house. The sun is sitting in your 1st house with Mercury retrograde. And these two are triggering your 4th and 10th house, and Uranus squaring the sun, and the full moon is in your 10th house. So what could this mean for you, Leos? There's some type of completion that you want to have here with a partner. However, there's also some kind of disruption being happening here, or being caused by maybe your career, maybe your public reputation, maybe from an authority figure that takes you by surprise, and you maybe realize that this completion needs to have some even more reviews, or some more details need to be put into this to be able to happen, to be able to be accomplished. And that is because, again, this full moon is opposing Mercury retrograde in your 1st house, which is combust at this time, which does not make Mercury very strong in your 1st house. So if you have been reviewing things associated with your identity, personality, who you are as a person, how you want to be known into the world, then this full moon is very much bringing those things into your attention. But this time with a friction, with tension that is coming from Uranus in your 10th house. So again, for a lot of you Leos, there could be something in your career, something you want to accomplish that just suddenly, changes things for you, changes your partnership, changes something maybe in your marriage if you're married. And if you're not, if you don't have somebody in your life, then maybe this can cause a change in your agreements, in your contracts, in some type of, contract that you have in your life. This can also mean that something that is being known into the world about you, your public reputation and how other people know you, can really flip around something associated with your partnerships or your contracts and agreements. That is something here being known into the world in a very surprising and shocking way that changes your partnership and your contracts and agreements. There could also be a family member very well causing some kind of friction, some kind of tension to your partnerships, to your identity, who you are as a person and how you want to be known into the world. And again, if you're not in a partnership, then there could be a family member that does not agree with some type of a contract or agreement that you want to put in place, and is creating some important tension into your life that needs to be addressed with this full moon. This full moon is very much putting a spotlight to that. The moon rules our 12th house, so this could very well happen behind the scenes. This partnership that you want to create, or you already have, or this agreement and contract that you want to complete could be behind the scenes, or it could be that for some of you is associated with foreign lands, import, export. It could be that is associated with maybe people that are poorer, sick, and less fortunate. Obviously, it's just for a few of you, but could definitely be a possibility. Uranus is the ruler of this full moon, so it's quite powerful in your 10th house. Uranus is asking you to be very original, authentic, transiting your 10th house, and in square to this full moon is maybe making you realize that you need to be authentic in your career, public reputation, how you want to be known into the world, to be able to have the right partnerships, contracts, and to be able to express yourself in your identity, who you are as a person in the right way, in the most, original way to get the benefits of Uranus in the 10th house. Obviously, this is easier said than done, absolutely, but this full moon is very important for you Leos, very, very important with this happening in an angular house. Again, there's some friction being created here, but these two shall pass, and hopefully this is not going to be very hard. Please make sure to check the Mars-Jupiter conjunction transit video that I have already put up, and also the Jupiter square Saturn that I already have up, to be able to understand the energy of this full moon on a better view, because that is also happening at the same time of this full moon. So very important. But if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Virgos, Virgo suns, moons and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. This full moon is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone, but it's happening at 27 degrees in your 6th house. This talks about some sudden completion, some sudden spotlight that is being put between you and your co-workers. The 6th house rules co-workers, people that we deal with on a daily basis. This may talk about some tension that's being created here due to some differences in belief systems, because Uranus is squaring this full moon from your 9th house. This can also talk about having to deal with maybe a legal matter that takes you by surprise, that you were not expecting, but having to do so on a daily basis to where it makes you very busy, and you have to address multiple things associated with it. This can also talk for some of you Virgos, a need to address some health issues that again take you by surprise. You were not really expecting them, but you have to do so because there's some tension again being created here from the 9th house, from Uranus, the planet of surprises and shocks. And it could very well be that maybe some belief system that you had associated with the food intake, with your workout routines, could have caused something in your health, in your physical body, that you were not expecting, that you didn't think could happen. But this full moon is putting a spotlight into these things, that maybe there's a change that needs to be made here with this full moon. The sixth house is also the house of daily tasks, daily routines. It could just be that for some of you Virgos, you suddenly become very, very busy. You have to address multiple things, run a lot of errands, do a lot of things that, again, were not expected and kind of take you by surprise. Lastly, the ninth house where Uranus is sitting on is the house of foreign lands. And foreign travels. So for some of you Virgos, it could be that you have been wanting to do some travels, to go somewhere far, but your daily routines, some responsibilities that you have, surprisingly do not let you, or they just make you so busy that you can't really go or enjoy some type of vacation in foreign lands. The moon rules your 11th house, and it can very well talk about some long-term goal that you might have had, again associated with long-distance travel, associated maybe even with your co-workers. Maybe you've been wanting to build a relationship with somebody at your workplace, but you realize that maybe you don't have a lot in common together. You believe in different things, and so there's some friction being created here, something sudden and surprising that could happen with them. The 11th house that the moon rules is also the house of friends and acquaintances, so it could be that you're in your daily life, the friends that you meet on your daily basis, there is some friction being created with them to where you don't come into agreement with them about something, or you're not on the same page, you don't believe about the same things, and so there's some tension being created here that is being put in the spotlight with this full moon. Lastly, what's important about this full moon is that it is opposing Mercury. And Mercury is next to the Sun at this point, retrograde, it's combust, so it's not that strong. But it talks about having to, think twice maybe for a lot of things that this Mercury retrograde maybe had you go back to. To review and rethink about even 12th house matters, because that's where the Sun is sitting and that's where Mercury is sitting. For a lot of you Virgos, this full moon wants to put the spotlight on your daily routines and make you understand that maybe you're not resting enough, or on the opposite, you are maybe resting too much, and you have to review your schedules, your daily routines, your tasks, how efficient you are on a day-to-day basis with this full moon. So this is also creating some friction there. All in all, this full moon has a lot of tension. We also have squares between between Saturn and Jupiter, and also Jupiter and Mars are conjunct. They're pretty close to each other, so there's a lot of friction in the sky, a lot of things that we need to address. I'm not talking about these other squares and conjunctions in this video, but I have put 2 other videos where I talk about these, so please make sure to check those to get a better understanding of the sky configuration on this day. But this is what I have for you Virgos. Please let me know in the comments how things are going for you, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to show some support, maybe to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello Libra suns, moons and risings, welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction, which is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone. But for you Libras, this is happening in your 5th house at 27 degrees of Aquarius. This talks about the spotlight that's being put when it comes to your creativity and your artistic abilities. For a lot of you Libras, you really want to put a lot of attention into the skill set that you have. However, it could be that maybe the shared resources that you have with your partner or with a family member are maybe not sufficient to support you when it comes to developing these artistic abilities and skills. This can also talk about, for some of you Libras, the desire to have maybe another child. The 5th house is the house of children, the house of creation, to where we create another human being out of our bodies. And so for some of you, you may really want to have another child, but it could be that your shared resources, finances, surprisingly limit you. They don't, you may realize that maybe you don't have enough funds or the sufficient financial support to be able to do so. The 5th house is also the house of romance. And the 8th house, where Uranus is squaring this full moon, is the house of self-sabotaging patterns, of fears also. So it could be that for a lot of you Libras, maybe you want to approach to somebody, or they approach to you, a romantic partner, but they somehow trigger your insecurities, your fears, in a very shocking and surprising way. This full moon asks you to address those fears, maybe to put attention to them, to try to heal them, or to learn them, to understand them. Because everything happens for a reason, and Uranus sitting in your 8th house in a square to this full moon is really wanting you to address these self-sabotaging patterns and insecurities, the shadow side of you during this full moon. The 5th house also, as I mentioned, is the house of children, but if you already have children, it could be that you may need to use your shared resources and finances to help them with something. The spotlight is being put in your child, and you may be using shared resources in a way that you are not expecting, a surprising way to be able to support them and help them. It could also be that a child may be triggering you again, fears and insecurities that you might be having associated with them, and this full moon is very much asking you to address those things, put some attention to your children, but having to deal with some fears and some shadow side of your psyche, of your subconscious. The 8th house is also the house of other people's shared resources and finances, and with the full moon in the 5th house of creativity, if some of you want to maybe open a business that deals with other people's money, there could be some friction happening here, some surprising events that need to be addressed before you can complete this, before you can actually achieve this. The moon rules your 10th house, so for some of you Libras, this can really be about the way how you want to be seen in the world. There could be some creative ability or artistic ability that you have, that you want to develop, that changes or put some spotlight in the way how you're seen into the world. And again, this can be also something that could be happening with one of your children that is actually pretty public. Other people know about it, and it takes you by surprise. You're not expecting some type of event associated with them. What is important about this full moon is that it's also opposing Mercury, which is sitting in your 11th house. And Mercury here is combust. It's also retrograde. It's very close to the sun, which talks about maybe having to readdress and review some type of long-term goal that you may have had, which could be very much associated with your creative abilities and artistic abilities, or with one of your children, or with entertainment, having fun, maybe having to go somewhere that you've really wanted to go, but with this full moon realizing that maybe you don't have the necessary resources and funds to be able to do so. The full moon is happening in a fellow air sign, so it could be a little lighter for some of you Libras, but there's still tension being in place here, with Uranus being the ruler of this full moon and squaring the full moon in itself. So definitely some friction here, some tension that is being created between your 5th house matters and your 8th house matters. The other thing about this is that in the sky during this day we also have a square between Saturn and Jupiter, and also we have Jupiter and Mars pretty close to each other, almost conjunct, which means that Mars is also creating a square to Saturn. And I have addressed these two transits in 2 other videos, so please make sure to check those out also to get a bigger picture and bigger understanding of this full moon. I really hope this is as light as possible. However, again, we have a lot of tension in the sky with this full moon. But please let me know in the comments how things are going for you Libras, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Scorpio suns, moons and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction for the 12 zodiac signs. Scorpios, this full moon is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time at 27 degrees in your 4th house. A lot of you Scorpios are undergoing a lot of challenging things. I feel like in the comments, Scorpios are always the ones with the most challenges, the most difficulties. So I feel for you. I feel sad that difficult things are going on in your life. I am a Taurus rising, so I'm opposite of you, and trust me, I have very similar things going on. But it is very important to keep a positive mindset and hope that things are going to get for the better, because being sad really does not provide anything, does not improve anything. So between feeling good or bad, try to choose feeling good, although it may be very difficult to do so. But this full moon is happening in the 4th house, and it talks about the emotional world here, Scorpios. There is some tension here being created between the 4th house of emotions and the 7th house of partnerships, marriage, contracts, agreements. So for a lot of you, there is some insecurity or some tension that's being created in the inner world for a lot of you Scorpios, that comes or stems from a disagreement in a partnership, in a collaboration, in a contract that you may have with somebody else. And it can be a business partner, it can be a romantic partner also, it can be a marriage partner. The 4th house is also the house of real estate, of residence, where you live in, and there could be some disagreement here, some strong, shocking, surprising disagreement that you may have with a partner, again, be it romantic or a business partner associated with your place of living. You're maybe not agreeing, you're not coming in the same terms about where you want to live or what you want to do with a house, with an apartment, with real estate investments that you may have, with a partner, with somebody else in your life. The 4th house is also the house of ancestry. There could be something shocking that comes, like some news, something that you learn about maybe your ancestors that takes you by surprise, especially related to their marriages, to their partnerships that you were not expecting, but it shakes up your world, it puts a spotlight on them. The 4th house is also the house of homeland, so if you happen to live abroad, then there is some spotlight that's being put here in your homeland, where you come from, that is being provoked maybe by a partner, is being provoked by some type of contract agreement that you have in place in your life. Now the thing about you Scorpios is that this full moon is triggering your 10th house, your 1st house, and your 7th house, of course. So it's in an angular house, and there could be tension and spotlight created also in your career, in your public reputation, your public status. Something there's tension, there's disagreements that are happening here, again, between you, maybe with your partner, associated with your 4th house matters, but also 10th house matters, your career, public reputation, where you see yourself when it comes to your mission in the world and how you want to be known. And it could also be that the one that disagrees is also you, for some of you Scorpios, because Uranus is opposite the 1st house, which is the house of your personality, individuality. So a lot of tension being created here. There's definitely changes that need to happen, and also reviews with this full moon, because it's opposing also Mercury retrograde, which is sitting in your 10th house. And Mercury here is combust, so it's not very strong, it's retrograde. There's reviewing here that's happening in your 10th house matters, career, in your public reputation, in what you want to be known to the world. And so this full moon is asking you to make those necessary reviews. It's again putting the spotlight into things that you had to go back to be able to make some changes, or at least understand some things about your public status and what you want to be known to the world, and also your career and public reputation. So this full moon is definitely putting a lot of spotlight in really all areas of your life, Scorpios. And I wish it was lighter, but I also don't want to make you upset, to make this dark and gloomy. This too shall pass, as with other as with every other transit, but it's here to make you understand some important things about the pillar of your life, your family, your fourth house matters, your place of residence, and even your emotional world, that again could be triggered by a partner, could be triggered by you, but that also has an impact in your public reputation and how you want to be known in the world. On this same day, we also have the square between Jupiter and Saturn, and also we have Mars pretty close to Jupiter, so also in a square to Saturn. I've created 2 separate videos for these 2 other transits that are happening in the sky at the same time of this full moon, so please make sure to listen to those to create a better understanding and a better picture of the sky during this full moon. But please, Scorpios, keep in mind that these transits are very, are important, and I know they're very profound, and the difference between a Scorpio rising and a Taurus rising, such as myself, is that you definitely feel things more intense than I, for example, do, or as Taurus risings do. And so that's why for some of you, you may be feeling, very intense within yourself, in your inner world. But just know that these transits are created there for a reason, and they look like, difficult at the moment, but in the long term, I'm pretty sure that everything will make sense. And this, we're going to look back and be like, yes, that had to happen for me to take a different direction or a different route into my life. So I know that at some point, all of this is going to make sense. So keep that in mind too. But please let me know in the comments, Scorpios, how things are going for you. And if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello, dear Sagittarius, Sagittarius suns, moons, and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. This full moon is happening on August 19, Eastern Standard Time, at 27 degrees in your 3rd house. It is receiving a tense aspect from Uranus, which is sitting in your 6th house. For a lot of you Sagittarius, this full moon is putting a spotlight in your need to be on the road, to drive and short distance travel, to address some abrupt and sudden tasks and errands that you need to run with Uranus in your 6th house. It could just be that for a lot of you, you may just suddenly become very busy. You need to go left and right to, complete tasks, to do things, to be efficient. And, it could be very surprising, very shocking, very disruptive to your daily routines. The 3rd house where the full moon is sitting on is also the house of your siblings. Younger siblings, to be more specific. So if you have some, that it could be that they need your help. The spotlight is being put on them, and you have to adjust your daily routines, your day-to-day life to be able to help them, but doing so in a very surprising way, in a shocking way, in a way that you or them were not expecting. The 3rd house where the full moon is sitting on is also the house of your thought process, and for a lot of you, you may need to rethink or reevaluate the way how you talk to yourself, the way how you think in your day-to-day life, because it might affect your physical health in one way or another. And this full moon is really telling you that, maybe what you say to yourself could be affecting your physical health, and how you feel in your physical body, but even your mental health, because the 3rd house is quite mental, and the 6th house where Uranus is sitting is the house of your physical body, of physical health. So keep that in mind. Make sure to rest enough, make sure to say the right words to yourself, to do good affirmations, positive affirmations, or even journaling could really help you during this full moon to write down things that you like, that you're positive about in your life, to be able to loosen up the intensity of this full moon in your 3rd house. The 3rd house is also the house of writing and publishing. So for a lot of you, if you have been planning to publish and write something during this transit, then there could be some disruption in your daily routines to where you need to address them. They take you by surprise, and you realize that you have to do both, or you have to run these errands, do these things, but also do the writing and publishing that you really want to achieve. The sixth house where Uranus is sitting is also the house of co-workers. So for a lot of you Sagittariuses, it could be that you need to improve or make some necessary changes to your communication style with this full moon. There is some tension being created here, maybe with a coworker, some misunderstanding, or just some disagreements, some strong ones that could be taking you or them by surprise. And it could stem from your communication style, the way how you talk to them. Maybe somebody does not like how you talk to them. And so, there's tension and friction being created here, to where you need to understand that, yes, you need to change something about the way how you communicate with others. Now, if you are in the sales industries, in marketing, car sales, also in the writing industry, any communication industry, it could be that there's some disruption in your business that stems or comes from a need to address daily routines, address daily tasks, some errands, some things that you need to go after, to run after with this full moon, with a tense square from Uranus. Now, it's important to note here that this full moon is opposing Mercury, which is sitting in your 9th house, and Mercury here is combust in retrograde, which talks about reassessing and putting a spotlight in your belief systems, in the way how you see the world, and even how you talk to yourself again, with the full moon in the 3rd house of thinking process. It could also be for a few of you Sagittarius is that you may need to reassess maybe some foreign language. For some of you, I feel like you have to go back to studying or restudying some foreign language to be able to have a more efficient communication, especially with people that you deal with on a daily basis. There's a sudden need here to go back to the basics of some foreign language to be able to talk to these people. Obviously that's the case for a few of you, but definitely a scenario for some of you Sagittariuses. During this time we also have a square between Jupiter and Saturn, and also Mars and Jupiter are pretty close to each other. So almost conjunct, they're only 2 degrees away from each other, and they're creating, a tense aspect to Saturn at the same time during this full moon. So, there could be a lot of things that you need to address, Sagittarius, with Uranus in your 6th house of your daily routine. You might be one of the signs that gets the busiest, and it might not feel easy with a 10 square, but there's a need for action here. Squares are the aspects of action. So if you are on the go, you might loosen up a little bit the tense aspect of this full moon. However, again, there's other stuff happening in the sky, which I have made 2 different videos about. So please make sure to check those out to get a bigger picture and understanding of the sky configuration during this full moon. But please let me know in the comments how things are going for you, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Capricorns, Capricorn suns, moons and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. This full moon is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so please make sure to adjust it to your time zone, but it's happening at 27 degrees in your 2nd house. This full moon is also receiving a tense square from Uranus, which is sitting in your 5th house. So for a lot of you Capricorns, there is a spotlight being put here associated with your personal finances and resources. There could be a call to action here to use creativity and your personal creative abilities to increase your personal income or to protect your personal income with this full moon. The 5th house is the house of creativity and artistic abilities, and the 10th square that's being created here is a call for action. The 2nd house is also the house of your values, of your self-confidence. So for a lot of you, you may understand or you may realize that to increase maybe your self-confidence, you might need to be more creative, to go after your hobbies, to go after things that make you happy, that give you joy and happiness in your life with Uranus in your fifth house. But you may be realizing this in a very intense way, in a very sudden way, with this 10 square. The fifth house is also the house of children, so it could be that something shocking that could be happening in the life of one of your children takes you by surprise, and you may realize that you need to use your personal resources and finances to help this child out, to help them, and at least to remove the stress, or really to help them financially, because the second house that is put into attention here is the house of personal resources and finances. For others of you, the fifth house is the house of entertainment, and it could be that something that you had been wanting to do to have fun, could take a larger amount of money out of your pocket that you previously thought. It could also be that for others of you Capricorns, maybe a child is being added to your family. You realize maybe that your partner or you are pregnant, and you realize that maybe you don't have the financial support or the financial resources to be able to sustain this child or welcome this child into your family. Now, this full moon is happening opposite the Mercury, which is retrograde and combust in your 8th house. So there's definitely some attention being put here into finances, personal and shared finances. With Mercury retrograde in your 8th house, maybe there was a need to reassess your shared resources with a partner or with a family member. And so with this full moon, again, there's some friction and tension being created here, associated maybe with a child, associated with your creative and artistic abilities, with your hobbies, to where there is some finances that maybe need to be spent here, or at least put into the attention to be able to attain something sudden and shocking related to fifth house matters. The full moon in the second house can also talk about just your personal possessions that you may be using, or you may be using and putting in place to serve some fifth house matters. This full moon can also talk about maybe a romantic candidate, with the fifth house being the house of romance, that takes you by surprise when it comes to your self-confidence. You may be realizing maybe you're not confident enough, or you don't have those same values with them with this full moon. And so there's some tension here, some friction being created between you and that person, to where maybe you don't come to the same terms with each other. Again, I want to go back to the children situation here. There could be some disagreements with a child, to where you don't you feel like they don't value you, they don't value your personality, who you are as a person, what you have come in this world with, which is your skill set, your self-confidence. You feel like a child here is creating some tantrum, some chaos that triggers your self-confidence with this full moon, with this 10 square being created here. At the same time, we also have Mars conjunct Jupiter. They are sitting 2 degrees away from each other during this full moon, and they are squaring Saturn. I have created 2 separate videos for these two configurations in the sky, so please make sure to listen to them to get a bigger picture and bigger understanding of the sky during this full moon. But there's definitely tension being created here, Capricorns. However, there are things that need to be put into action with these 10 squares. Squares ask for action, and they're not easy. There's chaos here with Uranus being also the ruler of the full moon, but definitely a need for action. Please let me know in the comments how things are going for you, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Aquariuses, Aquarius suns, moons and risings. Welcome to your full moon in your sign astrology prediction. Aquariuses, the full moon is on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone, but it's happening at 27 degrees in your first house. This is very, very important for you Aquariuses. The ruler of this full moon, Uranus, which is also your chart ruler, is squaring this full moon from your 4th house of real estate, your home dynamic, your family members, your ancestry, your house, your apartment, wherever you live in. So for a lot of you, there is a spotlight being put here in your identity and your personality. For some of you, you may feel somewhat threatened, maybe by a family member, when it comes to expressing your identity and embracing it freely. For a lot of you, it could be that there's some tension being created here, again, through a family member, about being able to express yourself freely, even, in your physical body, in the things that you wear, in the tattoos that you have. For others of you, there's a tension and friction being created here with this full moon, where it puts a spotlight in your identity and your ability or inability to express yourself freely in your home dynamics, or simply in the place that you live in. For some of you, you may consider or reconsider relocating, living in a new place with this full moon, because you might not feel comfortable expressing yourself freely where you currently are at. You might not be able to be original, to be yourselves, as Aquarius that you are, usually quite original. However, there could be some tension, some friction being created here in your home environment, in your home place, in the city that you're living in, that just does not sit well with you. So the spotlight here is on you. You could be the initiator of a lot of things, maybe a lot of heated discussions with your family members. Also, for a lot of you, you may be the initiator. Now, for others of you, the fourth house is the house of emotions, of our inner world. So it could be that something within you does not sit well. There could be some fire, literally some fire within you that does not let you settle. It does not let you settle for not expressing yourself freely the way how you want to express yourself. And so there is some discomfort that could be happening in the inner world with this full moon that takes you out of your bubble, that takes you out of your comfort zone, so that you can express yourself freely into the world. The important thing about this full moon, Aquarius, is that, of course, it's happening in your first house, but it's also triggering your seventh house of partnerships, collaborations, contracts, agreements that you have in place, and also your career, your public reputation, and your status. So it could be that, this friction could be created with your career. Something, is maybe not sitting right with you with the path that you've taken with this full moon. And so the spotlight is on you. There is some situation happening here that brings the attention of other people into you, into who you want to be and how you want to identify in this world, how you want to be known, how other people want to see you. So there is some tension, some difficulties that could be created here. Again, they could be very sudden, very abrupt, with family discussions, family dynamics, but also associated with your career, public reputation, and your mission in this world. For others of you, it could be that there's some friction, some tension being created because of a partner. If you are in a partnership, this can be a romantic or a business partner, or it could just be that there is some collaboration or some agreement, some contract put in place that is creating a lot of tension, a lot of friction in your life, and this is putting the spotlight on it. This is asking a lot of you Aquariuses to be authentic, to be original, but it is definitely not an easy energy. There is a square here, and it's a square to your ruler. It could be that you could be the initiator or the one that's not feeling comfortable with your home environment, with where you're living, with your inner world, with maybe the direction that your life has taken. And I don't want it to sound like all dark and gloomy. It's just friction being created here so that you can take an action. And squares are aspects of action. So again, for a lot of you Aquariuses, you may need to do something to improve your situation, or for your life to take a different direction, and you being able to express yourself authentically and in a more realistic way. What's also very important about this full moon is that it's opposing a Mercury retrograde, which it is currently in your seventh house. So for a lot of you, you may have needed to review contracts, agreements, that could be about anything in your life, but you could also have had to revisit partners, or just to go back to old topics with a romantic partner or a business partner during this time. So now this full moon is putting the spotlight also on this Mercury retrograde. Any topics that maybe you have not addressed yet that need to be revisited, they will definitely be put in the spotlight with this full moon. So it is very important. This full moon is very, very important for you Aquariuses. The other thing that I want to mention here is that, if you have any planets between 24 degrees and the last degree of Aquarius, that you might feel this transit the most. The other thing that I want to say is that on this day we also have Mars and Jupiter very close to each other in a conjunction. They're only sitting 2 degrees away from each other, and they're also forming a square to Saturn. I've already put 2 videos up related to these squares. I've talked about them, so if you want to, you can take a look at them. So keep in mind, that there are a lot of tense aspects happening at the time of this full moon. That's why it could feel intense. But as I always say with all the other transits, this too shall pass. We just need to gather the lessons out of it, and why not also take action? Squares ask for action. And what actions you need to take, it depends on your personal chart and your personal situation, but there's definitely action that needs to be taken here. And especially for you Aquarius, this full moon is very important. It could bring a lot of understanding about your identity, about your partnerships, your home environment, where you need to be living, and the career that you need to be taking. But please let me know in the comments how things are going for you, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe. Hello dear Pisces, Pisces suns, moons and risings. Welcome to your full moon in Aquarius astrology prediction. Pisces, this full moon is happening on August 19 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to adjust it to your time zone. But it's happening at 27 degrees of Aquarius in your 12th house. The ruler of this full moon, Uranus, is squaring the full moon from your 3rd house. So for a lot of you Pisces, there could be some completion when it comes to a project you've been dealing with behind the scenes. However, there could be some news that comes through that just disrupts things for you. The 3rd house is the house of communications, and Uranus is the planet of disruption, of sudden events, of shocking events. So it could be again that you might receive or give some type of news that just disrupts maybe some project that you have behind the scenes, or if you are on a vacation, it could be that some communication that you receive could disrupt your vacation and change and turn things around for you. The 12th house is also the house of spirituality. So for a lot of you Pisces, there again could be some communication or some thinking process that is very shocking, very surprising. You can just have some aha moment to where you come into understanding when it comes to some type of spiritual belief, some type of spiritual routine, meditation, prayer that you may be doing behind the scenes during this full moon. There could also be something that is revealed during this time. The 12th house is the house of hidden things. The full moon is a luminary. It illuminates this area of your life. So it could be that something that was behind the scenes kind of like gets the spotlight, and it could really take you by surprise. Because the 3rd house is the house of your thinking process. So again, something that could come out of the shades can really take you by surprise, can take your thinking process by surprise. If you are in the sales industry, car sales, also short distance travel, writing, publishing, small business also, there could be some disruption there, some situation that's being created that takes you out of your comfort zone and really puts the spotlight into doing something behind the scenes or addressing these things behind the scenes, kind of hidden from the public eye. The 12th house where this illumination is also the house of people who are not as fortunate. So it could be that maybe you receive news about somebody that you know that you know that they are going through difficult things into their life, and it surprises you, it shocks you. This could also be news associated with maybe a sibling, with a neighbor also. That could be the scenario for a lot of you Pisces. Now, what is also important about this full moon is that it's opposing Mercury, which is very close to the sun at this point. It is retrograde and it is combust. And it is sitting in your 6th house of daily routines. So again, there could be some communication happening here, some news you may receive that disrupts your daily routines, that makes you reschedule and go back to to whatever you had planned for your day-to-day life, the tasks that you need to do, the errands that you need to run. There's some disruption that could be happening here for a lot of you Pisces. The sixth house where Mercury retrograde is happening in, that is being also highlighted with this full moon, is also the house of co-workers. So it could really be that some of you may discover maybe a hidden enemy at work with this full moon that again takes you by surprise, shocks you. Or you could just have some very tense communication with a co-worker or with somebody that you deal with on a daily basis. Again, Uranus is creating a tense square not only to the full moon but also to the sun, which is opposing the full moon, and at a greater degree to Mercury retrograde. So again, there could be a lot of tense communication, shocking news associated with your daily routines and also behind the scenes projects and things that could be going on in your life. But at the same time of this full moon, we also have Mars and Jupiter almost conjunct. They're 2 degrees away from each other, and they are forming a square to Saturn. And I've already put 2 videos up related to this transit, so please make sure to check them out if you want to get a bigger understanding of the sky configuration during this full moon. So there's definitely, some tense aspects happening here with this full moon, but they are necessary for us to take action. Square aspects require action, so keep that in mind, that there could be some intensity, but there could potentially, hopefully, be some solution associated with it. But as with every transit, don't get scared, don't get discouraged. This too shall pass. We are supposed to learn some lessons and potentially make some changes into our lives that are necessary for our current progress, in the steps or in the phase that we are at right now. But please let me know in the comments how things are going for you Pisces, and if you liked and resonated with this video, please remember to give it a like and to subscribe.